Welcome to Stories for Sleep. Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a place where stories are told not to awaken the mind, but to gently lull it into rest. As night falls and the rhythm of life begins to slow, you may find yourself like so many others. Your body is tired, yet your mind still wanders among thoughts that have not quite settled. In moments like these, we instinctively search for something soft enough, slow enough, safe enough to let ourselves rest. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, when we listen to stories that carry something ancient and natural within them, the unconscious gradually feels as though it is coming home. And that is exactly what Stories for Sleep wishes to offer you. In this video, we will explore the most relaxing truths about the formation of the Earth, not as a dry scientific lesson, but as a slow current of time itself, a place where rock, water, atmosphere, and life quietly took shape over billions of years. Each idea will be shared gently, allowing your mind to drift naturally towards stillness. If you are seeking a space to soften to sleep more deeply and peacefully, you are warmly invited to subscribe to Stories for Sleep, turn on notifications, and stay here with us. Now take a slow breath, and let us begin the story of the Earth. When night descends, and the outer world gradually grows quiet, a very ancient question softly touches the human mind. Why is it that Earth can cradle life, while most of the universe remains cold, silent, and distant? We are so accustomed to blue skies, solid ground beneath our feet, and the steady rhythm of our own breathing that we often forget. These are the result of a process of creation so vast it exceeds imagination. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, human beings do not merely live on Earth, we carry Earth within our unconscious. The deep layers of stone, the primordial oceans, the cycles of heat and cold of this planet mirror the deepest layers of the psyche where memory, instinct, and silent life coexist. When we explore how Earth was formed, we are also listening to an ancient story about ourselves. The challenge is that in the noise of modern life, we rarely allow ourselves to slow down enough to feel this story. Science is often presented through numbers, charts, and rigid terminology, stimulating the intellect but leaving the nervous system tense. Yet if we change how we listen, if we allow knowledge to flow through the mind, like gentle water, science itself can become a lullaby. In this video, you do not need to remember anything. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to stay. Together we will drift through the most relaxing truths about Earth's formation, from silent cosmic collisions to the planet's slow breathing cycles, to the delicate balance that allowed life to emerge. Each truth is a slowing rhythm. Each idea is a pause. Let your mind soften. Let the Earth tell its story. And perhaps as you gradually fall asleep, your unconscious will recognize something deeply reassuring. The stability you seek within yourself has been quietly shaped for billions of years beneath this gentle ground. Part 1. Introduction: the boldest dream of humanity. Some dreams do not arrive during sleep. They come when human beings stare too long at the night sky and suddenly feel that Earth, vast as it is, remains a fragile cradle. In that moment, a quiet yet daring thought is born. What if a dead world could live again? What if cold stone, red dust, and eternal darkness could learn to breathe, hold water, and welcome life? Terraforming the creation of habitable worlds is born from that dream. It sounds like science fiction, yet it touches something far deeper in the human psyche. The longing not merely to inhabit a world, but to care for one. From a Jungian perspective, collective dreams always echo the deep unconscious. Terraforming at its core is not only a dream about space, it is a dream about renewal. But one thing must be said gently from the beginning: terraforming is not magic. It is not a button to press, nor a triumphant act of conquest. It is an extraordinarily slow equation, one in which physics, chemistry, biology, and time must learn to speak the language of patience together. Pressure cannot be rushed. Water cannot exist without the right temperature. And life, if given a chance, demands millions, even billions of years to learn stability. At a deeper level, terraforming reveals a humbling truth. A living world is an incredibly fragile balance. Shift it slightly, and a planet may become too hot, too cold, too dry, or too toxic. That fragility is what makes the dream both alluring and frightening. For when humans imagine creating a planet, they must face an unspoken question. Do we truly understand what allows a world to live? Jung once observed that when humans attempt to control nature, they are often trying to control the chaos within themselves. Seen this way, terraforming becomes a vast symbol of the human ego, the desire to organize, regulate, and impose order upon the infinite. Yet it is also an invitation into humility, for the deeper we study, the more we realize that Earth is not inevitable, but the result of a rare chain of fortunate events. This introduction does not seek to convince you that humans will soon transform Mars into a second home. It simply opens a door inviting you to listen to the story of planets as you would listen to an ancient myth, quietly, without urgency, with only the slow breath of cosmic time and the whisper of unseen forces shaping worlds. As you listen to the story of terraforming, you may notice something deeply Jungian. The creation of a stable world outside mirrors the creation of inner stability within. Both require patience, respect for limits, and acceptance that not everything lies within our control. And like sleep itself, life flourishes only when we release the urge to force allowing natural processes to unfold at their own pace. So for now, you do not need to understand terraforming. You only need to let the story begin. Let your mind drift among distant worlds, slowly turning in the dark. And in that stillness you may feel it, the boldest dream of humanity is at its heart simply the longing to live in harmony with the world. Part 2. The fragility of a living world. And after that, bold dream opens the dream of awakening a silent world. We arrive at a quiet but profound realization. Not every planet can or even wants to become alive. If part 1 is the dream of aspiration, part 2 is the gentle moment of awakening where we see the truth beneath the dream. Life is not the universe's default state. It is an astonishing exception. A habitable planet is not strong because it is powerful. It is viable because it is balanced. Not too hot for water to vanish. Not too cold for movement to freeze. Not crushed by pressure, yet not so light that its atmosphere drifts away. All these conditions must coexist, compromise, and remain quietly aligned, much like opposing forces within the human psyche that must learn to live together for inner stability to arise. From Jung's perspective, life, inner and outer, never emerges from extremes. In The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, he wrote, "Life does not come from order or disorder, but from the oscillation between the two. A planet like a mind cannot survive in chaos, nor can it thrive in rigidity. Earth, through billions of years of rare fortune, found that narrow oscillation where life could emerge, transform, and continue. As we look beyond our solar system, this contrast becomes clear. There are frozen worlds where chemistry moves as slowly as eternal sleep. There are planets with crushing atmospheres that destroy fragility before it can form. And there are hidden oceans beneath thick ice where water exists, yet light, energy, and exchange are nearly absent. These worlds are not failures. They are simply not meant for life as we know it. And this is why terraforming becomes a paradox. To create life, humans must recreate an intricate balance they only dimly understand. At a deeper level, these harsh worlds mirror familiar inner landscapes. Jung called them inner terrains. Emotional numbness, like ice rigid, psychological structures like crushing pressure, and deep, unconscious oceans rich with potential but difficult to reach. Not every inner world is ready for conscious life, and not every planet is ready for a biosphere. Seen this way, Earth appears beautiful not because it is spectacular, but because it is sufficient. Slightly distant from the Sunday gravity, strong enough to hold air, yet gentle enough to allow life to breathe. A turbulent history that never crossed the point of no return. Life here did not triumph through force, but through adaptation. Jung warned, that underestimating fragility leads to the illusion of control. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he wrote, "The illusion that we can control everything is the most dangerous of all. Terraforming, when viewed calmly, is not proof of human dominance, it is a reminder of limits. Each extreme world beyond Earth reflects what happens when balance slips even slightly." This section does not aim to overwhelm you. It invites rest within truth. Life does not rush. A living world is rare, precious, and sustained only through humility. And like deep sleep, life emerges only when conditions are allowed to settle. As you listen, you may feel a soft recognition. You too are a fragile, living world. And like Earth, you do not need to be perfect, only balanced enough to breathe and to exist within your own natural rhythm. Part 3. Planetary climate, heat, light, and pressure. After recognizing the fragility of a living world, a quiet question emerges: what keeps that fragility from collapsing? The answer lies in climate, the silent system that sustains planetary rhythm. If a planet were a body, climate would be its long breath, slow, continuous, and exquisitely sensitive. Climate is not weather. It does not shout or shift overnight. Climate is a world's long memory, shaped by millions of years of interaction between heat, light, atmosphere, and surface. Like the human psyche, it functions not through single causes but through interconnected systems. When one gear shifts, others respond often, so slowly they escape immediate notice. Temperature is the first gear we tend to consider. Yet heat is neither created nor destroyed. It is received, retained, reflected, and redistributed. Too much light and water cannot remain liquid. Too little and chemistry slows into stillness. Yet even ideal light is insufficient without an atmosphere capable of moderating it. Atmospheric pressure becomes the quiet deciding factor. It determines not only whether organisms can breathe, but whether liquid water can exist at all. Without sufficient pressure, water evaporates, even at low temperatures. Without liquid water, life cannot sustain its intricate processes. A planet may possess heat and water, but without pressure, it holds only unfulfilled promise. Here, Jung's insight feels especially relevant. He observed that the most decisive psychological forces are often those least noticed. In The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, he wrote, "The most decisive psychological factors are often those of which we are least conscious. A planet's pressure is invisible, yet essential. And within the psyche, invisible pressures, beliefs, memories, unprocessed emotions quietly determine whether inner life can flourish." Surface color plays a similarly subtle role. Light surfaces reflect energy. Dark surfaces absorb it. When ice melts and darker ground emerges, heat increases, accelerating further melting. A slow feedback loop begins, much like psychological loops, where unnoticed patterns amplify themselves over time. Climate never stands still. It oscillates around temporary balances. Earth has known global ice ages and extreme heat periods, yet it continually returned to life-permitting states, not because it was designed perfectly, but because its systems remained flexible enough to recover. As Jung wrote in Modern Man in Search of a Soul, life is born only of the tension between opposites. Planetary climate is that tension between heat and cold, light and darkness, retention and release. Within limits, life can emerge. Beyond them, fragility dissolves. Thus, controlling climate on Earth or elsewhere is not about dominance, but relationship. There is no single switch, no instant solution. Every change spreads slowly, leaving lasting traces, just as small psychological shifts can reshape an inner world over time. This section does not seek conclusions. It invites listening to the rhythm of a planet, adjusting itself. And if you listen long enough, you may notice something gentle. Your mind too has a climate. Some days burn brightly, some nights freeze. Sleep, like atmosphere, is the cushion that prevents collapse. As the story continues, you need not remember concepts. Let heat, light, and pressure become soft images. And in that softness, allow your mind to grow quiet, ready for the next part of the journey where climate becomes not just a condition of life, but a mirror for how we learn to live with ourselves. Part 4. Biology. As a planetary engineer, after climate has quietly found its rhythm, when heat, light, and pressure have temporarily settled into a tolerable balance, the planet is still not truly alive. It is only ready, and within this fragile pause, biology enters. Not loudly, not with declaration, but as a very small yet persistent force beginning the longest task in the history of the universe, transforming an inert world into one capable of sustaining itself. The first engineers of a planet are not large organisms nor complex ecosystems. They are microorganisms so small they are invisible, existing at the threshold between life and non-life. They do not build with intention, have no long-term plan, no awareness of goals. Yet through countless cycles of birth and death, they begin to alter their surroundings little by little, like extremely patient hands touching stone. From inorganic rock fragments, biology gradually creates what we call living soil, not through force, but through repetition. Microorganisms cling to mineral surfaces, secrete mild acids and weather rock. They die, leaving behind organic matter. These thin layers accumulate generation after generation, until the planet's surface is no longer bare stone, but a foundation capable of holding water, nutrients, and more complex life. A vast transformation beginning with movements too small for any single observer to witness in full. Here, the parallel with human psychology becomes unmistakably clear. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, the deepest inner transformations do not arise from dramatic moments, but from silent processes unfolding beneath consciousness. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Planetary biology also looks inward in its own way. It does not seek rapid expansion, but depth, accumulation, and transformation. Microorganisms do not change a planet in a single lifetime. They do so over millions of years, through perseverance unseen. And it is precisely this persistence that creates the conditions for plants, animals, and eventually humans to emerge. What is remarkable is that biology does not merely adapt to the environment, it redesigns it. When life begins photosynthesis, the atmosphere changes. When respiration appears, the carbon cycle grows more complex. When plant roots spread, soil is stabilized, water regulated, and climate softened. The planet is no longer a passive stage. It becomes a living system, where biology and environment continuously shape one another. Jung expressed a strikingly similar idea in Collected Works, Volume 8 Inches, All Chaos. There is a cosmos in all disorder, a secret order. Biology is that secret order. From the initial chaos of chemistry and physics, life slowly generates stable patterns, not by eliminating chaos, but by coexisting with it, shaping it, and finding sustainable pathways through time. Seen through biology, terraforming is no longer a story of grand technology, but a story of community. Small living communities where no single entity controls the whole system, yet together create changes far beyond any individual part. This is the lesson planets offer humanity. Sustainability does not arise from concentrated power, but from resilient networks of relationship. If we listen slowly enough, this lesson echoes within our inner lives. A person does not change through a single decision. Psychological transformation occurs when small habits, faint insights, and long-ignored emotions begin to be nourished. Gradually, a new foundation forms, like living soil, stable enough for new possibilities to grow. As Part 4 gently comes to a close, there is no climax, only a soft settling. Biology does not rush. It teaches us that enduring life always begins in silence. And perhaps as you listen to these words before sleep, your unconscious is doing the work of those first microorganisms, quietly rearranging, accumulating, and preparing for a new balance. In the next part, The journey continues from silent biology to specific planets where the limits and hopes of terraforming become clearer. But for now, you do not need to go further. Let your consciousness rest and allow the invisible engineers within you to do their work. There is a beautiful paradox in how biology operates. Life changes a planet without intending to change it. Microorganisms do not know they are shaping atmospheres. Roots do not know they are stabilizing soil. The biosphere does not know it is becoming a self-regulating system. Everything unfolds as a natural consequence of living. And that is what makes biology the most trustworthy planetary engineer, because it is not driven by ambition or short-term goals. It simply responds to its immediate environment again and again until that environment no longer feels foreign. Over time, planet and life learn to adapt to one another like two beings, once unfamiliar, slowly finding a shared rhythm. At a deeper level, biology works not through leaps, but through accumulation. A thin bacterial layer on rock, one generation dying and leaving organic matter, a small cycle repeated long enough to become a foundation. This is how the greatest changes in the universe occur. No explosion, only persistence, so prolonged it becomes irreversible. In analytical psychology, Jung emphasized that the unconscious operates in the same way. There is no single moment of enlightenment powerful enough to replace long-term accumulation of experience. In Collected Works, Volume 7, he wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. Biology has its own pain, mass extinctions, evolutionary dead ends, failed experiments. Yet through these failures, living systems become more flexible, diverse, and resilient. Planets are not designed to be perfect. They are forged through trial and error. Here, a gentle realization emerges. The smallest living communities are often the most enduring creative forces, not being where they are strong, but because they are numerous, connected, and capable of spreading. A single microorganism changes nothing, but billions of them living together over millions of years can transform an entire planetary atmosphere." Jung recognized this principle within human spiritual life as well. In The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, he wrote, "The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. The human mind is built from countless psychological microorganisms, small memories, seemingly insignificant experiences, fleeting emotions. They accumulate, interact, and eventually form what we call personality. No one becomes themselves through a single event. We are shaped by small things repeated over time. So when we say biology is the engineer of planets, we are also saying very gently that you are the engineer of your own inner world, even without trying. Each time you rest when needed, each time you stop forcing yourself to be strong, each time you allow an emotion to exist without judgment, that is a microorganism quietly preparing the soil of your future. As Part 4 truly closes, what remains is not biological knowledge, but a deep sense of safety. Life does not need to be controlled to become sustainable. It needs time, space, and permission. And sleep, as you are slowly entering now, is one of the most important conditions for this silent process of creation to continue. Part 5. Mars, the planet that breathes slowly after. Listening to how biology quietly builds a world from the smallest things, our journey naturally turns to a place both close and distant, Mars. Not as a symbol of conquest, but as a silent witness to what happens when a planet once held potential for life and slowly learned to exist with less. Mars is not entirely silent. If we listen long enough, we can sense its own rhythm, very slow, very light, like a thin breath. Each winter, carbon dioxide in the Martian atmosphere freezes at the poles. Each spring, that ice sublimates back into gas. This cycle repeats year after year, making the red planet appear to inhale and exhale even without lungs, without surface life as we know it. This breath is not strong enough to warm the planet, but it is enough to remind us that Mars is still functioning, still responding to sunlight, still maintaining a minimal biological rhythm of its own. And it is this slow breathing that makes Mars especially suitable for reflection before sleep, where there is no climax, only the quiet continuation of time. Beneath the barren surface, research suggests subsurface water ice still exists like a buried inheritance. It does not flow, evaporate, or participate in living cycles, but it remains. A geological memory of an ancient era, when Mars may have had rivers, lakes, and a thicker atmosphere. The water did not vanish completely. It withdrew into depth, much like experiences once vivid in human life, later pushed into the unconscious. Here, Carl Gustav Jung's perspective becomes especially clear. Jung believed that what is buried is not lost. In The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, he wrote, "Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent. A planet too can carry an unlived life. Mars holds conditions that were once nearly sufficient for life, yet never fully realized. And this creates a familiar feeling, that of unfinished potential of something that might have been. Mars's low atmospheric pressure makes everything more fragile. Sound, if present, would travel strangely. Liquid water cannot persist. Heat cannot be retained. This is not hostility, it is lack of support. Mars does not kill life. It simply cannot hold it. Its global dust storms are similar. They do not come to destroy, but as inevitable responses of an imbalanced system. Dust rises, blocks sunlight, reduces already scarce energy. The planet grows colder, quieter. A closed loop, much like psychological cycles, where energy gradually withdraws, and everything becomes heavy and slow. Jung wrote in Psychological Types, "Depression is like a woman in black. If she shows up, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, treat her like a guest." Mars, in a way, is such a guest within the solar system. It does not need to be dismissed or glorified. It needs to be listened to. For in its stillness, we see what happens when a world loses its protective layers, and when life must retreat into depth or disappear entirely. Terraforming Mars is therefore not merely a technical challenge. It is a dialogue with a planet accustomed to breathing slowly, living with low pressure and limited energy. Any effort to warm it, thicken its atmosphere, or release water must confront a long history of loss. And as in human psychology, one cannot rush the healing of a structure shaped over billions of years. As Part 5 gently closes, Mars appears not as a goal, but as a mirror. It shows us what happens when balance is broken and time does not favor life. Yet it also whispers something soft, even in lack a rhythm remains. A thin breath, but real. And if you are listening before sleep, you may recognize yourself in that rhythm. Low energy days, periods of slowing down, parts of you that were once vibrant, now only memories. None of this is wrong. It is waiting for conditions. In the next part, we will leave Mars to look at a very different world, one where atmosphere is excessive heat, overwhelming. Another warning equally worth hearing before sleep carries you further. What makes Mars not just a celestial body but a story is this: it is not fully dead. It is not alive. It exists in a rare intermediate state where time continues, but energy is insufficient to move life forward. A state Jung might call liminal, a threshold between worlds. Mars's slow breath through CO2 freezing and sublimation is the minimal motion required to avoid total stillness. No growth, but no final ending. In analytical psychology, such states appear when an individual or system has endured too much loss to return to the old form, yet lacks the conditions for rebirth. The buried water ice beneath Mars's red soil holds a unique beauty, the beauty of what was never spoken. Water is life's condition, yet on Mars it is not allowed to flow. It is held frozen, forced into silence. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is not a place of death, but of unlived possibilities. In The Psychology of the Unconscious, he wrote, "The unconscious is not a demonic monster, but a natural entity that produces meaning." Mars, then, is not a dead planet. but a planet with unfinished meaning. It carries what might have become life forced by time and harsh conditions to withdraw. And this makes Mars deeply familiar, because each of us carries parts that once lived fully, then learned to sleep. Low pressure on Mars creates a distinct feeling everything escapes easily. Atmosphere cannot hold heat. Water cannot remain. Sound, if present, lacks fullness. This is a world unable to hold. Psychologically, it mirrors states where one lacks the inner gravity to retain emotion, memory, or vitality. The planet's dust storms appear violent from afar, but they are simply attempts to redistribute scarce energy. Dust rises not to destroy, but to respond to imbalance, like inner turbulence which arises not from weakness but from a system attempting to self-regulate under constraint. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections. In the last analysis, the essential thing is the life of the psyche. Mars, in its own way, still has a psychic life. Not abundant, not generative, but persistent. It teaches a lesson. Only silent worlds can offer existence, does not always include growth. Sometimes existence means simply holding rhythm, holding breath, and preventing total collapse. As Part 5 truly ends, Mars becomes not a symbol of future ambition, but of necessary slowness. And if you are listening before sleep, you may realize you do not always need to move forward. Sometimes breathing slowly like Mars is how something inside you is preserved. In the next part, we will travel to a world of excess, where atmosphere is too thick and heat too intense. But before continuing, allow yourself to rest for a moment within the thin breath of the red planet and within your own slow breath. Part 6. Climate control, space mirrors, and greenhouse gases. After listening to Mars's slow breathing, a fragile yet natural question arises. Can we intervene in a planet's breath? Not by force, but by fine adjustment. Not to dominate, but to regulate. From this question emerge ideas of planetary climate control, bold and risky. One of the quiet yet intriguing ideas is space mirrors. Not for reflection, but modulation. Massive mirrors placed in orbit to redirect or block sunlight. At its core, this is a deeply human attempt, not changing the planet directly, but altering how it receives light. Indirect, gentle, like drawing curtains instead of changing body temperature. But light is more than heat, it is rhythm. Day and night, seasons and cycles. Adjusting planetary light means touching the natural rhythm of a world. A small change, sustained long enough, can shift entire climate systems, just as a repeated thought reshapes a life. Jung warned that excessive conscious control invites unconscious backlash. In Psychology and Alchemy, he wrote, "The more consciousness gains in clarity, the more the unconscious comes to the fore." Planetary climate responds similarly. Adjusting light triggers reactions in temperature, pressure, ice, wind, and biology. No action exists in isolation. Another approach is using powerful greenhouse gases to trap heat. Appealing for its speed, this mirrors modern psychology's craving for instant solutions. Yet speed is the danger. Greenhouse gases, once released, are difficult to retrieve, exceed thresholds, and systems spiral beyond adaptation. Jung wrote in The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, "Man's greatest danger is not nature but his own unconscious. Terraforming without humility risks being driven by unconscious urgency, the desire to fix, quickly overshadowing long-term understanding. A planet like a psyche resists coercion. It needs time to absorb change. Thus, climate control becomes not a science of power but an art of balance. Encourage without forcing. Intervene while leaving space for feedback. Restrain not from fear but respect. Here, terraforming shifts from technology to ethics, from engineering to philosophy. Jung wrote in Modern Man in Search of a Soul Life is born only of the tension between opposites. This applies to planets as much as minds. A livable world is not perfect. It constantly adjusts between hot and cold, light and dark, holding and releasing. Terraforming, if possible, would be a centuries-long dialogue between intention and limitation. There is a subtle moment in all climate control efforts where humanity must ask, are we helping the planet or soothing our own anxiety? The desire to regulate arises not only from science, but from fear of uncertainty. Symbolically, space mirrors resemble psychological avoidance, adjusting external conditions to avoid inner change. They raise a Jungian question. Are we avoiding confronting true system limits? In inner life, we do the same. When cold inside, we seek stimulation. When overheated, we shield ourselves. These psychological mirrors bring temporary relief but rarely resolve root causes. Jung warned in Psychology and Alchemy, what we do not confront in ourselves we will meet as fate. Strong greenhouse gases represent fast solutions, the belief that enough heat solves everything. History shows the opposite. Excessive speed denies systems time to adapt. Without time, life cannot learn balance. Terraforming thus becomes a test of civilizational maturity. Impatient civilizations choose force. Arrogant ones underestimate feedback. Unaware ones confuse capability with right. Jung warned in The Undiscovered Self man has acquired an overwhelming power over nature but not over himself. Climate control becomes a mirror. Have humans learned self-regulation? Only then can planetary regulation avoid destruction. At its deepest level, terraforming is listening. Adjust, then wait. Intervene, then observe. Restrain not because powerless, but because understanding complexity requires space. As Part 6 ends, excitement gives way to deeper quiet. Not all problems need immediate solutions. Some must remain in creative tension for life or understanding to emerge. And if you are listening before sleep, you may sense your mind does not need fixing tonight. It only needs gentle regulation, less harsh, light enough warmth to find balance in its own time. Part 7. Time Adversary and Ally. After climate biology and subtle intervention, one factor remains beyond human plans: time. Silent, unopposed, unavoidable. In terraforming, time is both greatest obstacle and only irreplaceable partner. Terraforming has no clear endpoint. It does not resemble building bridges or cities. Its timelines stretch centuries or millennia. Decisions today reveal consequences long after their makers are gone. This contradicts human instinct, which seeks immediate results. At a deeper level, this is psychological. Jung observed modern humanity's tense relationship with time, our urge to accelerate and control. Yet the deepest processes resist pressure. Jung wrote in The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, the process of individuation is a natural one which cannot be forced. Planetary life also needs time, not as tool but environment. Small changes need centuries to propagate. Minor errors can persist across generations. Time does not correct. It amplifies what is sown. Thus, time is ally and adversary. It enables stability, but punishes arrogance. A rushed decision may become irreversible. Terraforming becomes an ethical test. Are humans willing to bear responsibility for consequences they will never face? Jung touched on this in The Undiscovered Self. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on the future than the unlived life of the present. An unfinished planet, distorted climate-broken cycle, becomes a civilization's unlived life, burdening future generations. Terraforming resembles planting a forest, knowing one will never rest beneath its shade. In Jungian psychology, maturity arises not by defeating time but cooperating with it. Neither people nor planets can be forced into wholeness. Everything must be planted, waited for, allowed to err, and corrected across long cycles. Seen this way, time ceases to be enemy. It becomes an ethical space where humanity asks, are we acting for life or fleeing uncertainty? And if you are listening before sleep, a gentle truth may emerge. You do not need to be finished tonight. What remains incomplete is not failure, it awaits its time. Like terraforming, your inner journey is not a bridge to finish but a forest growing unseen. Time, when respected, becomes ally, And in the slow breath of night, perhaps this is the greatest gift: patience, to let things become in their own rhythm. Time does not care about human urgency. It flows steadily, indifferent to hope or regret. A planet may change profoundly, but subtly thicker atmosphere, steadier chemistry, small imbalances accumulating. No clear moment of success, only signs recognized later. This is where time becomes psychological adversary. Human consciousness seeks immediacy. Terraforming demands transgenerational awareness, action divorced from personal reward. Jung noted, humans underestimate slow processes, not because weak, but because ego cannot control them. Time offers no instant proof, only outcomes for those who do not need to witness them. Terraforming resembles planting forests. One sows knowing harvest belongs to others. The act matters not for result, but direction. I work for a future I do not own. Here, time shifts role from enemy to selective ally. It rewards humility, flexibility, persistence, not ambition. Mistakes do not vanish with time, they deepen. Like unacknowledged psychological conflicts transmitted across generations, time stores rather than erases. Yet this storage also allows healing if sown correctly. Small adjustments today may stabilize centuries later. Ethical decisions unnoticed may prevent collapse far ahead. As Part 7 truly closes, urgency dissolves into release. Not finishing everything in one life is liberation. Like terraforming your inner life needs no immediate outcome, only correct placement within time's flow. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel this softly. Rest is not delay. It gives time room to become ally. You need not outrun time. Only walk with it slowly, steadily, with trust. Part 8. Oceans and Deep Chemistry. After walking alongside time, both adversary and silent ally, our journey naturally drifts towards something deeper, slower, and more ancient: the ocean. If climate is the breath of a planet, then the ocean is its deepest memory. The place where all surface disturbances eventually flow, dissolve, and are held in silence. The ocean is not merely water. It is a vast chemical engine where heat, salt, minerals, and energy are constantly exchanged. Slow ocean currents carry heat from the equator toward the poles, softening the extremes that surface climate might otherwise create. Because of the ocean, a planet is not torn apart by heat and cold. Yet it is also because of the ocean that instabilities can accumulate, amplify, and be released in unpredictable ways. Liquid water acts as a perfect buffer. It absorbs excess heat and releases it when there is scarcity. It dissolves gases, slows reactions, and stretches time so life can adapt. A planet with liquid oceans is often more stable, more patient, like a mind capable of holding emotion long enough not to be swept into extremes. But when water freezes completely, everything changes. Oceans stop circulating. Deep chemistry halts. A planet, in a very real sense, shuts down. Here, Jungian imagery becomes especially clear. In Carl Gustav Jung's view, water is always a symbol of the unconscious, deep, vast, and never fully controllable. Jung wrote, in Symbols of Transformation, water is the commonest symbol for the unconscious. A liquid moving ocean reflects a living unconscious where psychic energy can circulate, transform, and reorganize. A frozen ocean, by contrast, resembles a locked unconscious where all potential is held back, unable to rise into consciousness. But something must be said very softly. A world with water is not necessarily a friendly one. Water is not always a condition for sustainable life. Oceans can be too deep, too salty, too dark. Pressure can be too great. Energy may be insufficient to sustain complex cycles. Deep chemistry may generate toxic compounds or environments entirely alien to the biology we know. The presence of water is only an invitation, not a promise. This closely mirrors inner life. A person with emotional depth is not automatically safe to be near. The unconscious, if not integrated, can become a source of instability. Jung warned in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious The unconscious can make a fool of you in no time. Planetary oceans are similar. They stabilize climate, but they can also conceal deep instability. Small temperature shifts can melt ice, release gases, and trigger irreversible chemical feedback loops. A planet that appears calm can change state rapidly, not because the surface shifts, but because deep chemistry has quietly moved. Terraforming, when it reaches the ocean, becomes especially fragile. To intervene in liquid water is to intervene in the system with the longest memory. A small change today may be remembered by the ocean for thousands of years. Time here does not erase, it amplifies. And so the ocean is both the greatest stabilizing ally and the greatest risk of any living world. In Jungian psychology, maturity requires learning to descend into the waters without drowning, touching depth without losing structure. The same applies to planets. A world needs oceans to live, but also boundaries, so it is not consumed by its own depth. The ocean, then, is not paradise, but an ancient neutral force, neither good nor evil, only responding to the conditions placed upon it. And if you are listening before sleep, you may sense a gentle resonance. You too have oceans within, deep, dark, full of potential, needing to be approached slowly and with respect. Sleep, in a very Jungian sense, is the moment consciousness allows itself to float on the surface, not diving, not resisting. And in that letting go, the deep chemistry of the mind continues to operate, rebalancing and preparing for a new day, just as the ocean has always done for this planet, long before humans gave it a name. One easily forgotten truth about oceans is that they do not only react to the present, they carry a longer history than any other planetary system. The water molecules of today may have flowed through entirely different climatic eras. They absorbed heat during ancient hothouse periods, were locked in ice during global freezes, dissolved gases and minerals from rocks that no longer exist on the surface. Because of this, the ocean does not merely regulate climate, it remembers climate. That memory does not vanish. It moves slowly and reveals itself only when thresholds are crossed. A planet may appear stable for millions of years until a small change unlocks what the ocean has stored, amplifying the present with the weight of the past. Through Jung's lens, the human unconscious works the same way. It does not forget, it waits. Jung wrote, in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, the unconscious is always there, watching, shaping, influencing. A deep ocean watches in the same way. It does not intervene directly, but it is always present. That silent presence makes it both cradle and latent danger. When balance holds, the ocean nurtures. When balance breaks, it becomes uncontrollable. Liquid water, then, is not just a physical condition, it is the psychological condition of a world. A planet with liquid water can regulate its own emotional life. When water is locked in ice, the planet enters a state resembling emotional numbness, not dead, but unresponsive. And in that state, even if life once existed, it no longer has space to transform. Conversely, an ocean that is too deep, too active, is not necessarily favorable. Chemical reactions under immense pressure and darkness may create environments incompatible with surface biology. A water-covered world without continents, without rock-soil cycles, may be a planet of water, but not a planet of complex life. Here, water does not nourish, it overwhelms. Jung warned that plunging too deeply into the unconscious, without conscious structure, leads to disorientation. In Psychological Types, he wrote, a man who is unconscious of himself acts in a blind, instinctive way. A planet, too, requires surface, land, atmosphere to prevent the ocean from becoming a blind force. Life arises not from water alone, but from interaction between water and limits. Thus, when terraforming touches the ocean, it touches the deepest layer of the system, the place where all deviations are remembered longest. To intervene in the ocean is to intervene in planetary memory. And as in psychology, deep memory cannot be forced. It can only be approached slowly with absolute respect. As Part 8 truly closes, the ocean ceases to be romantic or promising. It becomes a gentle reminder life needs depth, but also shores. It needs the unconscious, but also consciousness. and it needs water but not too much. If you are listening before sleep, you may feel a subtle safety. You do not need to dive deeper tonight. Just float. Your inner ocean is still there, moving in its own rhythm. And sleep is the way consciousness trusts that this depth can rebalance itself, at least for this night. Part 9. Venus, a warning from the atmosphere. After the stend of Tecta Venti, deep ocean, where planetary memory rests in silence, our journey reaches a very different world, Venus. If Mars breathes slowly like a body conserving its last energy, Venus resembles a body unable to cool down. A world where the atmosphere is no longer a gentle shield, but an immense weight pressing down upon the planet itself. Venus does not lack atmosphere. It has too much. Surface pressure is enough to crush fragile structures. Temperatures melt metal, and the root cause is not proximity to the sun but a runaway greenhouse effect beyond all self-regulation. Heat is trapped. Water vapor disappears. Cooling cycles collapse, and the planet enters a loop with no exit. Venus proves that atmospheres do not only sustain life, they can also erase it. When too thick, too heavy, too efficient at trapping heat, an atmosphere becomes a closed system with no release. No gentle day-night rhythm, no restorative pause. Everything is held accumulated until it becomes unbearable. At a deeper level, Venus carries a profoundly Jungian meaning. Jung taught that every system, psychological or planetary, requires release. He wrote in The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. On Venus, energy is not transformed, it is imprisoned. And when energy is trapped too long, it no longer nourishes, it burns. This mirrors psychological states where emotions are suppressed, unexpressed, unregulated. At first, the system seems stable. Over time, internal pressure rises, and collapse becomes inevitable. Venus thus stands as a warning not of scarcity but of excess, not of cold but of overheating. It reminds us that adding more is not always better. Some systems need cooling, opening, permission to breathe. From this awareness arise ideas for terraforming Venus, very different from Mars. Instead of warming humans, imagine cooling. One bold proposal is a solar shade, massive structures placed strategically to reduce sunlight. No direct surface intervention, no immediate chemical change, simply reducing stimulation. Symbolically, this mirrors a familiar therapeutic move. When a system is overwhelmed, the first step is not fixing but reducing pressure. Jung emphasized that healing begins when one stops forcing constant functioning. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he wrote, "The shoe that fits, one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." Venus teaches the same lesson. What nourishes Earth overwhelms Venus. There is no universal solution, only contextual adjustment. Another vision involves floating cities in Venus's upper atmosphere where pressure and temperature are moderate. This is a humble idea, not conquest, not total repair, but finding a local balance. Psychologically, it resembles creating safe spaces when life circumstances cannot be fully changed. Venus is not a goal, it is a lesson. It shows what happens when self-regulation fails. And it warns that atmospheric intervention on any planet demands deep respect for limits. As Venus gently closes its chapter, it ceases to be a hellish caricature and becomes a burning mirror. And if you are listening before sleep, you may sense something soft. Sometimes what you need is not more, but less. Less light, less pressure, less heat. Sleep is like a gentle shade, allowing the mind to cool. And in that coolness, rest becomes possible, like a planet finally permitted to breathe. Venus carries a deep paradox. What was meant to protect life became the reason life could not exist. An atmosphere meant to warm, instead smothered. And when energy has no exit, accumulation becomes destruction. Venus reminds us that not all protection is safe. Systems that become too sealed turn into prisons. This applies to planets and to minds. Overprotection from pain, conflict, or failure can erode emotional regulation. Comfort becomes suffocation. Collapse follows. Jung wrote in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Venus is a tree that reached for light without a return path to depth. No feedback loop, no cooling night, no open unconscious. And so it remains locked in a single state too hot to change. The solar shade then is not merely technical. It is a mature psychological gesture knowing when to step back, not push forward, when to reduce input rather than increase effort, when to allow the system to regulate itself. In Jungian therapy, there are times when the therapist does nothing, simply holds space. Venus needs such cosmic therapy, not immediate repair but restored feedback. Floating cities offer another quiet message: coexist with limits instead of erasing them. Humans do not remake Venus into Earth. They find a layer where life can pause, observe, and learn. This humility is rare in science and spirit. Jung wrote in Modern Man in Search of a Soul, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." Accepting Venus as it is mirrors accepting overloaded parts of oneself, not surrender, but ending a futile battle with reality. As Part 9 truly closes, Venus becomes a psychological metaphor. Life does not perish from lack as much as from the inability to release, and survival often depends not on strength, but on cooling in time. If you are listening before sleep, you may sense a gentle resonance. Perhaps you too carry an inner Venus where emotions or responsibilities have been held too long. And tonight, sleep may be the softest shade of all. Part 10. Habitats. First planets later, after Venus. Humanity learns a crucial lesson. Not every world can or should be healed immediately. From this humility emerges a gentler, more realistic, psychologically profound approach. Habitats first, planets later. Instead of changing entire worlds, humans imagine small, enclosed, controllable living spaces, domes, tunnels, artificial environments where pressure, temperature, light, and water are carefully regulated. Each habitat is not a final solution but a living experiment, a place to learn how to exist in unfamiliar conditions, step by step. At a deeper level, this is profoundly Jungian. Jung taught that maturity does not come from unlimited expansion, but from building a stable inner safe zone. In The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, he wrote, "The ego is the center of consciousness, but not of the whole personality. A habitat resembles a healthy ego. It does not encompass the whole planet, just as the ego cannot control the unconscious. But it provides an anchor, a stable center from which learning and gradual expansion become possible. Each habitat is a psychological laboratory. Living in closed systems confronts humans with limits, isolation, altered rhythms, total dependence on life support systems. There is no vast nature to escape into. Every imbalance is felt, and in that clarity humans learn what total terraforming never teaches: conscious living within limits. Jung warned that the unconscious reacts strongly when consciousness is under extreme conditions. In Psychology and Alchemy, he wrote, "There is no consciousness without discrimination of opposites." Habitats sharpen these distinctions inside and outside, safety and danger, control and surrender. Through them, humans come to know themselves not as conquerors, but as fragile beings learning to adapt. Stepwise terraforming reflects slow intelligence. No leaps, no planetary gambles. Each expansion asks, do we understand enough? Can we take responsibility? This is not speed-driven science, it is self-regulated science. Psychologically, it mirrors not trying to heal everything at once. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Habitats allow that small enough spaces where darkness does not overwhelm. Expansion then becomes natural, not forced. Thus, habitats first becomes not strategy, but philosophy. Sustainability begins at the right scale. Some worlds, outer and inner, must be approached gradually, with patience and respect. If you are listening before sleep, you may feel relief. You do not need to fix your whole life tonight. You only need a small inner habitat safe enough to breathe and rest. Habitats also reveal a quiet truth: humans were never meant to control everything. On Earth, atmosphere and oceans did that for us. Beyond Earth, we must carry that responsibility ourselves. Habitats teach dependence. Every breath, every drop of water is recycled. No error dissolves into vastness. Everything returns quickly. Psychologically, this exposes vulnerability often hidden by comfort. Jung wrote in the relations between the ego and the unconscious. The unconscious is not just evil by nature. It is also the source of the highest good. Habitats remove escape. No open sky, no distraction, only repetition. Yet repetition, when stable, creates self-observation. Terraforming through habitats becomes therapy for civilization. Before changing worlds, humans must learn to inhabit small spaces without destroying them. To sustain balance long-term, Jung warned in Psychology and Alchemy, the enlargement of personality does not come through power but through consciousness. Habitats allow no illusion of power. They demand humility, precision, patience. And from that humility arises coexistence, not conquest. A stable habitat over decades proves more than technology, it proves readiness. Not because the planet is ready, but because humans are. Psychologically, this mirrors individuation. The ego learning to live beside the unconscious without being swallowed, step by step. As Part 10 closes habitats, first becomes a philosophy of maturity. Not all spaces must be mastered. Some only need to be held stable long enough for life to find its way. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel deep relief. You do not need to expand tonight. Only rest in a small, quiet inner habitat and let the rest wait. Part 11. Ethics and the right to exist after. Learning to live within small habitats. A quiet but unavoidable question arises. Do we have the right to change a world simply because we can? This is no longer technical. It is ethical and deeply psychological. Terraforming may be scientific on the surface, but at depth it is a moral decision spanning generations. Any planet reshaped may have had, or still have, other forms of life, microorganisms, prebiotic chemistry we have yet to recognize. When humans arrive intending to improve, the greatest risk is not failure, but erasing a history never understood. Jung warned, "In the undiscovered self, man has done incalculable damage to himself through his own ignorance." Civilizations may convince themselves they are bringing life while projecting their own form of life onto others. Psychologically, this is projection. The right to exist question thus returns to humanity itself. Can we accept that life need not resemble us to have value? Does a lifeless planet by human standards have the right to remain itself? Jung believed maturity begins with dialogue with the other. In Psychological Types, he wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Another planet approached correctly may transform us, not by becoming Earth, but by reshaping our understanding of life and limits. Terraforming ethics ask not what can we do, but what should we do, and where should we stop? Consequences emerge centuries later. No immediate court, no instant punishment. In Jungian terms, responsibility moves beyond ego into collective unconscious. Jung warned in Ion, "A collective problem is never solved by individual good intentions." Thus, Part 11 offers no conclusions, only an invitation to remain with the question, to tolerate uncertainty. Sometimes the most ethical act is restraint. If you are listening before sleep, you may recognize this inwardly. Some fragile parts within you do not need fixing, only acknowledgement of their right to exist. Sleep may be the deepest ethical act tonight, allowing all parts of you to rest without judgment. History teaches that disasters arise not from malice, but from certainty too early. Terraforming risks repeating domination disguised as idealism, Jung wrote in Ion. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. Without ethics, terraforming becomes science's shadow power without reflection. The question of destroying even microbial life is profound. Jung emphasized respect for the other. In The Undiscovered Self, he wrote, "Collective man has lost the capacity for reflection. Terraforming without reflection becomes blind efficiency." Ethics here also reflect how we treat Earth. Moral structures do not change by planet. Jung believed maturity tolerates moral ambiguity. Thus, Part 11 does not choose sides. It invites listening to silent worlds and to unconscious motives. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel resonance. Healing sometimes means allowing, not fixing. Sleep becomes an ethical gesture, releasing control, letting the mind be. Part 12. Governing a sky. After ethics comes another, quiet weight who governs a changed sky. Once terraforming becomes action, atmosphere becomes a shared resource, borderless, indivisible. Unlike land, the sky has no boundaries. Wind carries consequences everywhere. Thus, atmospheric governance cannot belong to individuals or nations. It is collective responsibility across generations. Jung warned early of humanity's imbalance between technical power and self-governance. In The Undiscovered Self, he wrote, "The individual who is not anchored in his own self can hardly be expected to carry the responsibility of a collective order. Governing a sky demands stability without being intoxicated by power. Terraforming becomes political and social. Who sets ideal temperature? Who bears risk? These are not technical questions." Jung wrote in Aeon, "Large organizations are no longer run by individuals, but by collective psychic forces. Without awareness, terraforming expresses fear and power. Governance is restraint, delay, limits, wisdom." Jung wrote in Psychology and Alchemy, "Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling." Part 12 invites us to pause beneath an imagined sky, shared, responsive, ethical. If you are listening before sleep, you may sense your own inner sky. Governed too tightly, it suffocates. Neglected, it becomes chaotic. Gently cared for, it allows breath. Sleep is governance, releasing control, trusting regulation. The sky reflects humanity's relationship with power. Atmosphere records actions, not intentions. Jung warned in The Undiscovered Self, "The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual becomes." Atmospheric ethics demand transgenerational responsibility. Jung wrote in Psychological Types, "One-sidedness is an inevitable and necessary characteristic of directed processes. Thus, governance must allow correction over time. Terraforming reveals its deepest truth. It is social. It requires cultures that can wait, self-limit, and care for futures unseen." Jung called this holding the tension of opposites. As Part 12 closes, the sky becomes intimate, a shared space that cannot be owned, only tended. And if you are listening before sleep, you may breathe out gently. Your inner sky, cared for with patience, can carry you into rest. Part 13. Other Worlds, Titan, and the Moon. After speaking of governing a sky where collective power and intergenerational responsibility intersect, our journey turns toward other worlds. Not to search for copies of Earth, but to learn how to let go of the idea that life has only one valid form. Among them, Titan emerges like a strange, slow-moving dream. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, possesses a dense atmosphere so thick that it hides the surface from direct view. Beneath its pale orange haze lie not oceans of water but lakes of methane and ethane flowing slowly like oil, cold enough to render all familiar human biology ineffective. Yet it is precisely this strangeness that makes Titan compelling. It reveals that the chemistry of life does not have to follow the path Earth chose. On Titan, low temperatures turn water into rock. Methane, mere gas on Earth, takes on the role water plays for us, evaporating, condensing, falling as rain, forming cycles. A different hydrosphere, speaking an entirely foreign language. Titan does not welcome humans, but it opens a profound question. Must life resemble us in order to be called life? Through a Jungian lens, humans often fear the other, not because it is dangerous, but because it threatens familiar images of the self. Jung wrote in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, the unknown is not dangerous because it is hostile, but because it is unknown. Titan is such an unknown, a world that does not mirror us, does not accommodate our biology, does not allow us to place ourselves easily at its center. And so Titan forces terraforming to change its attitude, not transforming Titan into Earth, but learning to listen to entirely different biological possibilities. Psychologically, Titan resembles the deep unconscious, where familiar rules no longer apply, where everything moves slower, darker, and more alien. Jung warned that when consciousness tries to impose its order on the unconscious, the result is often chaos. In Psychology and Alchemy, he wrote, "We do not create the unconscious. It creates us." Titan reminds humanity that not every world needs to be fixed. Some worlds need only to be understood on their own terms. If Titan represents radical otherness, the moon embodies a different paradox, very close, yet utterly inhospitable. Hanging in Earth's sky, it feels so familiar, we assume we know it. But that familiarity conceals a cold truth: the moon cannot retain an atmosphere. It cannot hold liquid water on its surface. It cannot shelter life on its own. On the moon, any life, if it exists, must remain permanently enclosed. There is no outdoors in the biological sense, no sky to breathe, no natural cycles to regulate conditions. This is a world that forces humanity to abandon the illusion that proximity equals habitability. From a Jungian perspective, the moon resembles elements close within the psyche. Childhood memories, old beliefs, familiar images that nevertheless cannot sustain mature life. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. Some things are close and familiar, but if we live in them too long, we lose air to breathe." The moon reminds us that not every familiar place can be home. Terraforming the moon, therefore, is not about planetary transformation, but about accepting limits. Accepting that here, life can exist only within artificial structures, closed habitats that will never become an open world. This is a deep lesson in humility, knowing when enough to live is wiser than dreaming of everything. Seen together, Titan and the moon offer a gentle realization: each world requires its own path. There is no universal formula, no easy second Earth. Just as in inner life, each person carries a unique structure, rhythm, and requires a different approach to healing and growth. Jung wrote in Modern Man, In Search of a Soul, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Yet he also implied that awakening does not come from forcing sameness, but from honoring difference. Titan and the moon, each in their own silence, remind us that the universe was not made to suit us, and that listening to it is what makes the journey meaningful. If you are listening before sleep, you may feel a quiet comfort. You do not need to resemble anyone else in order to live rightly. You do not need to become Earth in someone else's eyes. You only need to find the path that fits your own structure, slowly, privately, and with respect. Part 14. Para-terraforming. Replacing the sky with a clan roof. After passing Titan and the moon, two worlds reminding us that not every place can become Earth, a new idea appears: quieter and far more humble para-terraforming. Not changing an entire planet, not rewriting atmospheric history, simply building a roof, creating a smaller sky just large enough to live beneath. Para-terraforming begins with a deep realization: we do not need to own the whole sky in order to exist under it. Instead of thickening atmospheres, raising global temperatures, or altering planetary chemistry, humans construct immense canopies, structures covering limited regions beneath which climate is carefully regulated. A smaller world nested inside a larger one. Psychologically, this represents a major shift from omnipotent ambition to bounded care. Jung believed maturity comes not from controlling everything, but from knowing one does not need to. He wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Paraterraforming is such a choice. Instead of becoming planetary authors, humans choose to become roof keepers, creating conditions safe enough for life to unfold beneath. These roofs are imperfect. They have limits, edges, endpoints, and that is precisely what makes them humane. Every sustainable living system needs boundaries. A stable local climate allows coexistence without risking irreversible planetary harm. Compared to full-scale terraforming, paraterraforming radically reduces risk. Failure remains localized. Mistakes can be corrected. No planet is wagered in its entirety. This is not science of spectacle, but science of responsibility. At a deeper Jungian level, paraterraforming resembles a healthy ego, not inflated enough to occupy the entire psyche, not attempting to merge with the whole world, just large enough to protect, stable enough to sustain inner life, flexible enough to adapt. Jung wrote in The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, "The ego is the center of consciousness, but not the center of the psyche." Paraterraforming follows the same logic. It is not the planet's center, but it is the center of human life upon that planet. It accepts that the surrounding environment remains alien, harsh, uncontrollable, and instead of resisting that fact, it coexists with it consciously. Modular terraforming, expandable over time, reflects slow intelligence. Each new roof is not a victory but a question. Have we lived stably enough? Do we understand deeply enough? Only when the answer is yes, does expansion occur. This rhythm opposes conquest mentality yet aligns with long-term life. In inner life, this mirrors not attempting total healing at once. Instead, one creates small, safe spaces, a habit, a relationship, a quiet refuge. Stability spreads gradually without force. Jung said in Psychology and Alchemy, transformation does not happen through force, but through understanding. Paraterraforming is that understanding applied to space. It does not try to make a planet heaven. It only tries not to turn it into hell. As part 14 closes, the image of the vast roof ceases to symbolize technology and becomes a symbol of psychological maturity, knowing how to shelter, how to limit, how to recognize that life does not need infinite sky, sometimes only a roof, strong enough to sleep beneath. And if you are listening before sleep, you may sense something gentle. You do not need to fix your entire life tonight. You only need an inner roof safe enough for this night. The rest can wait. Part 15. The Reversed Lesson of Earth. After all, the quote, "Worlds we have passed, slow-breathing Mars, overheated Venus, alien, Titan, harsh moon, and fragile artificial roofs. The terraforming journey unexpectedly brings us back to a place so familiar it is often forgotten, Earth. Not as an obvious starting point, but as a reversed conclusion, a realization that arrives late yet deeply. Only when trying to create another living world do humans begin to understand why Earth is so stable. Not because it is perfect, but because it is held in an extraordinarily delicate balance. The atmosphere is thick enough to retain warmth, but not so thick as to burn. Oceans are deep enough to regulate climate, but not so deep as to swallow continents. Gravity is strong enough to hold air, but not to crush life. None of this is inevitable. It is a fragile chain of coincidences spanning billions of years. Seen in reverse, terraforming no longer appears as a dream of expansion, but as a mirror. It reveals how impossibly difficult it is to recreate another Earth. Every planet lacks something. Magnetic fields, pressure, stable, liquid water. or has excess energy beyond control. And through these lacks and excesses, Earth's quiet value becomes visible. It stands out not by extremes but by sufficiency. Jung observed that humans often recognize a system's value only when it is threatened or left behind. He wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "We do not understand the unconscious until it has made itself felt. Earth resembles the unconscious foundation of human life, silent, patient, until rough intervention forces it to speak. As climate destabilizes, oceans change ice, melts faster than life can adapt, we realize what once felt eternal is fragile. One of modern humanity's most dangerous illusions is the belief that if Earth becomes uninhabitable, we can simply find or build another home. Terraforming was initially nourished by this illusion. But the deeper the inquiry goes, the clearer the opposite truth becomes. Earth is not easily replaceable and perhaps should never be treated as such. Psychologically, this is a profoundly Jungian moment. Jung believed that when humans lose connection with their roots, they seek outward expansion to compensate for inner loss. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he wrote, "Man is unconscious of the tremendous importance of his inner life. The desire to leave Earth often reflects not only exploration but avoidance. Avoidance of responsibility toward a system we rely on but do not fully understand. Terraforming, when reflected back onto Earth, forces an uncomfortable question. Are we seeking new planets because we do not wish to change how we live? The deepest reversed lesson of terraforming is humility. Climate is not something to be adjusted casually. Earth's balances are not guaranteed, and once broken, repair may exceed the capacity of any civilization. Jung emphasized that maturity comes not from finding new worlds, but from restoring relationship with the one we inhabit. In The Undiscovered Self, he wrote, "The world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. Earth hangs on that thread as well. Not because it is weak, but because human action increasingly surpasses the system's capacity for self-regulation." Terraforming, properly understood, is not a plan of escape, but a reminder that we live upon a fragile miracle. As part 15 closes, Earth ceases to be taken for granted. It becomes a relationship, one requiring care, listening, and protection. Not because there is nowhere else, but because this place is the result of a balance so rare it may never be repeated. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel a deep gentleness. You do not need to flee your present life to find a better version. Sometimes what is needed is staying looking more closely and honoring what already sustains you. Part 16. Conclusion. A living world is a relationship. After traveling so far through harsh planets, runaway atmospheres, deep oceans, artificial roofs, and the reversed lesson of Earth, this journey does not end with a formula, but with a shift in perspective. A living world is not something that is made and completed. It is not a product. It is an ongoing relationship. Life does not endure through a single dramatic moment, but through continuous care. Climate must be gently regulated. Biology needs time to adapt. Small deviations must be noticed early before they become irreversible. A livable planet exists not because it is strong, but because it is listened to long enough. Psychologically, this reflects how humans live with themselves. Jung viewed the psyche not as a machine to fix, but as an ecosystem to dialogue with. He wrote in The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, "The psyche is a self-regulating system. A living planet is such a system as well. Every intervention invites response, not resistance, but a search for balance. When terraforming is imposed, responses grow violent. When treated as relationship, where every action is listened to in return, life has a chance to endure. Terraforming, then, is not a story of power, but of patience. Patience to wait centuries. Patience to correct mistakes rather than deny them. Patience to accept limits that should not be crossed. And above all, patience to remove oneself from the center of every system." In Jungian psychology, maturity does not arise from conquering the unconscious, but from forming a healthy relationship with it. Jung wrote in Psychology and Alchemy, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Terraforming becomes ethical, not through bright visions, but by confronting its risks, shadows, and responsibilities. A living world does not need perfection, it needs sustained attention and humility. When humans realize they do not own a world, but participate in a relationship with it, everything changes. Decisions slow, interventions soften, and life, rather than being forced, finds room to regulate itself. This is terraforming's deepest ethic, knowing when to act and when to stop. And finally, the journey returns to the closest place you. The final lesson of terraforming is not about distant planets, but about how you treat your inner life. You are not a project to complete. You are not a system to optimize. You are an ongoing relationship needing daily care through gentle attention. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "Life has always seemed to me like a plant that lives on its rhizome. Life, planetary or psychological, grows from what cannot be seen. And sleep is the moment those invisible parts continue their work quietly without conscious control." So as these final words close, you do not need to remember anything more. No need to think further. Just let go. Release the cosmic images. Release the large questions. Release even the need to understand. Allow your mind to soften like a planet entering a long night. Breath slows. The body grows heavy. And in that quiet, the deepest relationship between you and life itself continues gently, steadily carrying you into sleep. Part 17. Gravity, the silent embrace of a planet. There is a force that is present in every moment of human life, so constant that we rarely notice it at all. It has no color, no scent, no sound. It requires no thought to be felt. That force is gravity. It not only keeps our bodies standing on the ground, but quietly shapes the entire planet. The atmosphere does not drift away. The oceans do not dissolve into space. And life is able to take root, grow, and repeat itself across generations. Gravity is the silent embrace of a planet. Not tight, not forceful, but steady enough to keep everything from falling into chaos. Because of gravity, the atmosphere is held around Earth like an invisible blanket. Because of gravity, water flows downward, forming rivers, seas, and the cycles that regulate climate. And because of gravity, the biological rhythms of life emerge. Trees send roots downward and trunks upward. Blood circulates in the human body, according to patterns programmed long ago. A planet without sufficient gravity does not die immediately, but over time it begins to lose itself. Its air is eroded by the solar wind. Water slowly escapes. Familiar cycles unravel not because of error, but because there is no longer a force to hold them together. Life, if it ever existed, gradually retreats, not loudly, not tragically, but simply because there is no longer a place to remain. Here, Carl Gustav Jung's perspective becomes strikingly intimate. Jung believed that the most important forces in psychological life are often those we do not consciously recognize. We only notice them when they disappear. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, he wrote, "We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Gravity is like that. We do not think about it until we move away from it. And in that distance, humans come to understand that some foundations of life do not need to be felt directly in order to sustain everything. Human beings evolved within Earth's embrace. Every cell in the body, every biological reflex, every sleep-wake rhythm has been tuned to a stable gravitational pull. When humans leave Earth and enter microgravity, the body begins to lose its rhythm. Bones gradually lose density. Muscles weaken, fluids shift in unfamiliar ways. Even sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented. This is not human weakness. It is biological honesty. The body is saying something very clear. We were born for a specific gravitational force. And when that force changes, every system requires long periods of adaptation, if adaptation is possible at all. In Jungian psychology, this mirrors the experience of losing an inner holding force, familiar structures, core values, stable relationships that once provided support. Jung wrote in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good. But for the unconscious to become a source of support, a kind of psychological gravity is needed, a center stable enough to keep experiences from scattering. When that center is lost, the psyche also begins to lose emotions, memories, and direction, much like a planet slowly losing its atmosphere. Seen through gravity, terraforming reveals a very clear limit. Not everything can be compensated for by technology. We may create air, water, shelters, but recreating an appropriate gravitational field for an entire planet remains far beyond our reach. And this reminds us that Earth is not special only because it has water or atmosphere, but because it has precisely the right holding force for complex life. As Part 17 gently closes, gravity is no longer a dry physical concept. It becomes a tender metaphor for the quiet forces that support human life, small habits, stable relationships, familiar values. We rarely notice them until they are gone. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel a soft sense of safety. Because even now, Earth is holding you. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to understand. Just lie still, allow your body to grow heavy, let your mind loosen, and allow gravity to do what it has done for billions of years. Keep life here. Let your eyes close. Let your breath slow. And within that silent embrace, sleep will come naturally, as everything always falls back to where it belongs. Part 18. The magnetic field. The invisible shield that ember preserves life. After speaking of gravity, the silent embrace that keeps everything from drifting away, we touch another layer of protection, even more discreet, even harder to sense: the magnetic field. If gravity is the arm that holds life in place, the magnetic field is the invisible shield that protects life from destructive forces coming from space. A planet's magnetic field is generated deep within its core, where molten metals swirl in absolute darkness. No one sees this process, yet its effects envelop the entire sky. Because of the magnetic field, Earth can deflect the solar wind, a continuous stream of high-energy particles blowing through the solar system. Because of it, the atmosphere is not stripped away. Because of it, lethal radiation does not strike directly at the fragile surface where life exists. The magnetic field does not create life, but it allows life the chance to continue. It does not nourish, regulate climate, or produce water. It simply stands there quietly, doing one thing well: preventing what is too strong from destroying what is too vulnerable. At a deep psychological level, this carries a clear Jungian meaning. For Carl Gustav Jung, a healthy mind is not one without conflict, but one with boundaries strong enough to avoid being overwhelmed by excessive energies. He wrote in The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, "The ego is the subject of all personal acts of consciousness. But for the ego to truly fulfill that role, it needs a psychological magnetic field, a protective layer that helps distinguish what can be absorbed from what must be filtered, slowed, or held at a safe distance. Without this protection, consciousness is gradually eroded, just like the atmosphere of a planet without a magnetic field. Mars once had water. Rivers, lakes, perhaps even shallow oceans. Today it is a dry world with an atmosphere too thin to retain heat. One of the core reasons is that Mars lost its global magnetic field. When its core cooled, the invisible shield vanished. And over time, not suddenly, not dramatically, the solar wind began to strip the atmosphere away layer by layer. This is the most dangerous kind of loss, one that happens so slowly it goes unnoticed until it is irreversible. No collapse, no immediate catastrophe, just year by year thinner air, more evaporated water, declining capacity to sustain life until returning becomes impossible. In Jungian psychology, this image is deeply familiar. Jung warned that when people lose psychological boundaries, they do not collapse at once. they slowly lose vitality, self-regulation, and inner safety. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he wrote, "Man is unconscious of the tremendous importance of his inner life. A world with water but no magnetic field is like a person with emotion and potential but no inner boundaries." At first, everything seems intact, but over time, external pressures demand stimulation, expectations drain the system from within. Seen through magnetism, terraforming reveals a humbling truth: not every condition can be replaced. We can bring water, we can build artificial atmospheres, but without long-term protection, all such efforts remain temporary. Life does not only need resources, it needs lasting safety. As Part 18 closes, the magnetic field is no longer an abstract physical concept. It becomes a symbol of invisible yet essential boundaries, pauses, limits necessary, no's that protect meaningful yeses. We rarely recognize their value until they disappear. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel a deep gentleness. Because even now, certain magnetic fields are protecting you. Quiet space, soft light, slower breathing, and permission not to take in anything more. Let excess thoughts drift past without clinging. Let your mind be shielded from the noisy world outside. And within that invisible protection, sleep will arrive, not forced, but held. Part 19. The limits of control when nature does not obey. After gravity and magnetism, those foundational forces that quietly keep life intact, our journey reaches a sensitive point: the limits of control. The deeper humans understand planets, the more they must face a difficult truth: no system can ever be fully predicted. A planet is not a machine. It does not respond linearly. Small changes in one variable can spread through many cycles, interact with other factors, and return in forms entirely unpredictable. In climate geology, biology, cause and effect rarely sit side by side. Terraforming is often described as a sequence of targeted actions: raise temperature, thicken atmosphere, create liquid water. But in reality, each intervention, even a small one, is like dropping a stone into a deep lake. We see the first ripple, but the later waves fade, overlap, and disappear from view, not because they do not exist, but because they extend beyond human short-term perception. Here, Carl Gustav Jung's insight becomes essential. Jung believed one of modern consciousness's greatest illusions is the belief that everything can be controlled by reason. In The Undiscovered Self, he wrote, "Man is unconscious of the fact that his own reason is subject to the irrational laws of the psyche. Nature is the same. It does not obey because it does not function through commands. It operates through complex laws where order and chaos coexist. When humans attempt total control, they do not make nature compliant, they increase systemic uncertainty. Small interventions can have consequences lasting centuries, not because they are powerful, but because they interact with time. A change today may not cause immediate crisis, but it lays foundations for chain reactions future generations must face. This is what makes terraforming a profound ethical problem, not merely a technical challenge. In Jungian psychology, this mirrors how unconscious decisions, seemingly minor choices, can shape an entire life. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." A planet also has its unconscious, slow, deep processes beyond direct control. When humans fail to recognize them, consequences appear as fate: abrupt climate shifts, ecological collapse, irreversible states. Properly understood, terraforming teaches not power, but humility. It teaches that some limits should not be crossed. Some questions must remain open. Some possibilities, though available, must be used with profound restraint. This is not weakness. It is mature intelligence. Jung emphasized that true development comes not from expanding control, but from accepting what cannot be controlled. In Psychological Types, he wrote, "The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Nature oscillates in the same way. It does not follow simple moral categories. It only responds. And when humans learn to listen to those responses, instead of issuing commands, the relationship between humanity and planet begins to shift. As Part 19 gently closes, the limits of control no longer feel frightening. They become a place to rest. Not everything needs management. Not every variable must be optimized. Some systems only need observation, respect, and permission to move at their own pace. And if you are listening before sleep, you may feel deep relief. You do not need to control every thought. You do not need to predict tomorrow. You do not need to solve your entire life tonight. Like nature, your mind does not obey commands, and that is completely okay. Let it drift. Let it self-regulate. And in that release, sleep will come not because you force it, but because you stop trying to control it. Part 20. Sleeping in the cosmos when planets also need rest. When humans look out into the universe, they often imagine ceaseless motion, planets, spinning stars, burning galaxies colliding in endless dance. But if we listen long enough, deeply enough, a gentler truth emerges. The universe does not only move, it also rests. Every planet has its own rhythm. There are frozen epochs lasting millions of years when surfaces grow still like deep sleep. There are melting periods when ice retreats, water returns, and life tentatively stirs. There are rare, stable intervals long enough for biology to flourish, and chaotic cycles when balances temporarily break. No world is always active. No planet remains perpetually fertile. Rest is built into the structure of the universe, not an exception. Even stars have lifespans. They are born, burn, and quietly fade, leaving material for new cycles. At a deep psychological level, this resonates strongly with Carl Gustav Jung's view. Jung believed the human mind was not designed to remain constantly alert, outward-focused, endlessly productive. In Psychological Types, he wrote, "There is no energy unless there is a tension of opposites, and tension requires contraction and release, activity and rest. A mind that never slows becomes like a planet without winter, exhausted, unbalanced, eventually collapsing." Modern humans often fear rest, fear silence, fear empty spaces not filled with information, plans, or goals. But the universe does not fear emptiness. In silence, its deepest structures renew themselves. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order. Sleep is such a healthy chaos. When consciousness relinquishes control, the unconscious works, reorganizing memory, regulating emotion, connecting what daytime cannot reach. Not to solve everything, but to preserve the system." To say that planets also need rest is to point to a universal principle. All sustainable systems require intervals of doing nothing. No production, no optimization, no improvement, just being, just maintaining. Terraforming in the end leads back to this simple lesson. Not every world needs awakening. Not every potential must be extracted. Some planets need to be left alone, and some nights humans need to be left alone with themselves. As Part 20 closes the entire journey from bold dreams of terraforming to the limits of control, dissolves into a gentle realization. Life does not need constant forward motion to have meaning. Sometimes meaning lies in stopping at the right moment. And if you are listening before sleep, remember, you are not a machine meant to run endlessly. You are part of the universe, and the universe knows how to rest. Let your thoughts slow. Let your breath lengthen. Let your eyelids grow heavy. There is nothing more to understand, nothing to remember, nothing to improve for tomorrow. Right now, being allowed to sleep is enough. Just as planets enter their own long nights, you may drift into sleep not as an ending, but as a necessary pause for life to continue. After a long journey through distant worlds, invisible forces, limits of control, and humanity's bold dreams, perhaps the most important thing we learn is not how to create a new world, but how to listen to one that already exists. Terraforming from afar looks like a desire to expand into the cosmos. Up close, it becomes a mirror. In it, humanity sees itself fragile, curious, ambitious, yet prone to forgetting the quiet foundations that sustain life. Every planet we touch, Mars, Venus, Titan, the Moon, whispers the same truth: life cannot be forced. A living world does not function like a machine. It does not obey commands. It exists as a relationship, one that must be listened to, adjusted, cared for, and sometimes left alone. Gravity holds life in place. Magnetism protects it from what is too harsh. Time gives it chances to correct itself. And rest gives it the ability to continue. Through a Jungian lens, the exploration of the cosmos always runs parallel to the exploration of the inner world. Jung emphasized that humans cannot truly understand the outer world without dialoguing with the inner one. The planets we try to control resemble the psychological parts we try to fix too quickly. The more we force, the more resistance arises. The more we listen, the more balance can emerge. And so, after all these reflections, the journey does not end with a grand conclusion. It ends with letting go. Letting go of the need to understand everything. Letting go of control. Letting go of the pressure to become a better version immediately. Because life, planetary or human, does not need constant progress to be valuable. Sometimes, what nourishes it most is stillness, sleep, moments of doing nothing where the system quietly regulates itself. If you are listening at night, perhaps your body is tired. Perhaps your mind still carries unfinished thoughts. But right now, you do not need to resolve them. You do not need to answer the universe or yourself. You only need rest. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders and jaw soften. Let the weight of your body sink into the bed as everything on earth always falls back to where it belongs. Sleep is not stagnation. It is an essential part of sustainable existence. Even planets need cycles of quiet, and so do you. Thank you for staying until the end of this journey with Stories for Sleep, a place where stories are not told to awaken, but to soothe. If this content helps you relax, sleep deeper, or simply feel accompanied in the night, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so we may meet again in future stories. Slower stories, deeper stories, quiet enough for you to sleep within them. And now, good night. Let the universe do its work, and you just rest.